Next meeting.
Seems to be a lot of that lately.
Well, we'll call the meeting to order, and Leah, do you want us to, like, do you mind if we do our minutes and financials before? Okay. The meeting minutes are in our packet.
Catch anything that. Thanks. I'll move approval.
Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Our minutes are approved, and onto financials. And I think I was like tracking everything. I didn't look at what Aaron provided here. One tiny thing is that like the 429 payment to Joe Mauer should say botanical supplies beautification.
Oh, yep.
That one.
Thank you.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It looked more like a worksheet, but I don't know if you're like submitting this to the city.
Well, I gave it to Aaron, but nope, I just copied the wrong one down. Okay, I'll update that. Apologies. I still am putting it in as botanical supplies beautification, and that code number actually lines up with botanical supplies. So I just don't know where we are on that yet.
I had big questions when we're talking about next year's budget too, like
For
where
that
we
munis
want
code.
to actually put money in the budget to like better align with the descriptions.
Okay, so I'll make that update for you. So yeah, so basically, these are the invoices that have been paid out of your account. I put them in order by vendor and then by date. And then I did a separate sheet that kind of itemized them by your budget line items. So you can just kind of see your totals there. So all these checks, we do have 2 checks outstanding. I'm going to reach out to, oh, sorry, that's on the back of here. I'm going to reach out to Quentin from Jazz Crawl. I'm not sure, maybe there was an updated address or something. That check is just sitting out there, but it was sent a while ago. And then Steve's Hemp, we did make that payment. He couldn't process it until Friday because he was out of town or something. So we'll see that coming through right away. So we have dropped below the $20,000 threshold, and then there'll be a request in for the additional money.
Which can just happen between me and you at any time, right?
Yeah, well, I was asking Aaron, I was going to submit an invoice identical to the original $50,000 request from the city that you'll sign. And then it probably shouldn't be a problem, I'm imagining.
Shouldn't be. Yeah. They
And
tell
I'm-
us otherwise.
Right, so I'm requesting $30,000. Just so you guys know.
So we've got the first half of Steve's Hemp is out. We're still got to pay out on the second half of that one.
Nope, I paid the second.
Pending.
It's pending.
Okay,
He was out of
okay.
town. So we literally just paid him because he just finished.
Right. Just
So good, you guys. What an investment.
I took a picture in front
It's
of
so
it.
great. Yeah, I'm really happy with how that turned out. So yeah, everything matches on our end. Obviously, nothing came out from the city after I took over. So that's where you're sitting. Okay. Is there any other questions you want me to walk through? Otherwise, it's pretty self-explanatory. Oh, Earthbound did just submit an invoice yesterday for the next quarter, and it includes that second pickup
Okay.
that you agreed to. So you'll still be within your budget amount, I believe. So.
It kept us within our budgeted line item. So we basically added services but did not exceed our budgeted line item because of just overflow. So added a second pickup. It didn't require any other.
With them, and I know after we pulled all those old lids out of the storage there, we've still got those lids on the cans. What is their?
They hate
I'm sure they're unhappy with them.
Yeah, so South Barstow removed those heavy lids maybe
Yeah.
2 years ago. They are 50 plus pounds, as you know.
What did South Barstow do? They just took them off and left?
That's
it,
what
or-
those are. No, we went to Streets and we got replacement lids. So they're
Okay.
back to the the
Just
old
like
style
cover
lid
style
covered.
without the slant lid on it, okay.
I have reached,
One thing that they did to make that possible, which we've like approved funding for, but haven't followed through with, is that instead of having a shared bin for garbage recycling, it's two
Separate
separate
bins,
ones. And that
right.
was the whole point of
Right.
the new lids, was so that it could be a shared bin.
Sure.
and Zach said additionally, those shared bins just don't work well. So his preference would be to do what South Barstow did, go back to the large liners.
Yep.
And then,
It's separate.
yeah, and if you wanted to do recycling bins, they work well enough. He said he's actually surprised that people do actually use them somewhat appropriately. I mean, there's a lot of recycling in the garbage, but for the most part, the recycling bins are pretty good or can be sorted.
In South Bend.
Yeah. I think the problem for South Barstow, when you don't have one right next to each other, you're just gonna use whatever's
Chuck it in
closest.
there.
Yeah. So I have a kind of an ongoing conversation with Aaron Nicholson from Streets about what inventory's left. There's a few cans that need replacement in South Barstow that like hit by a car or whatever. So just while you're both here to think about, we still don't really have a process for when like a vehicle hits one of the public amenities, and if, you know, if the city is going to pursue insurance claim on that. So the can, for instance, I don't know, South Barstow, but on the corner of Lake and Graham, definitely got hit by a car, dented in. And I don't know when it happened. I didn't know. I sent an email to Aaron Nicholson, like, kind of with a date window of when it could have happened. So I don't know if there's cameras over there, but how do we go about that if there's no cans left? Is the bid buying a new can and not getting reimbursed? So another conversation to explore. Like, how we deal with that.
I've kind of veered us off item here anyways, but maybe that's something we need to add to our regular meeting agenda to talk about what to do about those lids and going forward with the garbage cans then.
Oh, I think they'd be very happy if you guys got.
I figured that after hauling those other ones away, they'd be happy to have those gone, I'm sure.
Wasn't it for this year that we budgeted money for painting recycling bins?
I don't think it's in your garbage line. Would it be in capital improvement? Okay, it's possible. I'm not sure. I can look at it.
Yeah, if we know if we have a license plate number, our risk management will go after and try to get reimbursement.
So I would submit that to,
I'm Jasmine Dutton.
okay. I think in the past I would submit it to Billy and she would check the cameras. But
Yeah,
Jasmine, so if
If
I
it-
gave her like a time frame, because it happened between pickup windows. So I know that it was like a 4-day window. It could have happened.
I think.
Should be a
is
police
it two-
report.
Is
you
it 2
think?
weeks? Yeah, if there's a.
Unless
police
someone
report-
drove off.
Yeah,
Probably
if
drive
it's,
off.
if it's a drive off, then it's different.
Yeah.
But they pursued that lighting
Yeah.
thing, and that they were uninsured. That's why. it
Oh,
came
yeah.
Back for South Barstow. So, and I think our cameras, do they start writing over 2 weeks? If there isn't a request for camera footage, then you can't go back and look like a month ago.
So if I wanted a police report,
Yeah, police report should be.
who
Yeah,
would I, Bridget? Or about downtown or?
I'm sure she can get you there.
Who handles their open record?
Just do an open records request. There's a request for a police report, I think, on the website.
I'll,
There's a pretty easy process to get open records for the city or the county, I think.
okay. Well, that's where I'll start with this situation. You know, again, it matters when we notice it, but
So Big Brother's watching, but only for about 2 weeks. Is that what-
good to know. Mental note, check it off.
About how long our systems go.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, depends on which one. Forward.
It's amazing, we have all these videos and bars and stuff now, but they always seem to be not working when the police come in. They know who's screwing around with somebody else's wife, but they won't.
The problem I've discovered with our
A year
systems is
ago.
we have multiple properties and nobody ever looks at them
Yeah.
until you need them. Then you go, oh, it aired out a month ago and
Yeah.
then.
So you would have to, so that money got put in reserves,
You just
obviously.
need to have a deer walk by every now and then, somebody
Yeah.
films for you.
Yeah. Plus bring it up during.
Or have storms like last night when all the cameras are going
Over the
over things.
agenda, the full
And
board,
the power goes out.
the one in action item about recycling bin, painting cans for recycling bin. They had put it in their budget in 23 into 24 and it just never happened.
All right,
Move on that, I guess.
we should.
I'll move approval of financials.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion on improving our financials? And all in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? And that's the three of us, so it is approved. And we're on to downtown construction.
Yeah,
Exciting.
so there's lots going on.
Have you met Tim?
I don't think so.
Tim, I'm Leah Ness. I'm the
Oh, right.
engineering director.
Oh, my pleasure.
And I just, for your packet, I grabbed what we had put in the capital, improvement budget. And I had presented at council at that time, so these slides are related to the capital project budget. And just kind of gives you a timeline on what things are ongoing in the downtown area. But then more specific, we have scheduled streets for 5 years out on a map on the website under engineering. And so looking at that, some of the things that, well, first are at the top of my brain, Dewey Street Bridge with that construction, that has a public information meeting coming up this Thursday night. And just that project overall, the design side, we're just finalizing design right now. And it will go out to bid in 26. And then construction of the bridge will happen in 27. So that's going to create a detour, which will end up impacting Galloway Street to Firewall and then back over and so far still bid. Probably Main Street at the signals
You
there.
know, off the top of your head, you're telling me you were saying.
4 to 6.
4 to 6, yeah. And a formal presentation at 4:30
That's all.
at the library on the top floor.
And Decky did just send out, that information to our distribution list. So people.
Got it.
So that's something big that's coming up. We're looking for input now. The slides from the public information meeting will be out on the city website. There will be a comment form on the city website too. We are required to have that out there for 28 days for feedback, and then
Will it go out there on Thursday or will it be there before Thursday?
we'll try and get it out there. I'm waiting to talk to the property owners at 101 North Dewey, so the JCAP group. Waiting to talk with them before I get all the slides out there and the comment form. So I'd say Thursday for sure it will be out there, but otherwise, if I get to talk to them prior, we will get that out there.
I can be a project manager because my window looks right. So.
Now I know who to call.
Yeah, well, I get my earplugs, I think, too.
Yes. So that's one big project that is coming forward, 2027. Eddy Street Bridge, that's another one that really has a traffic impact on the Barstow area. And right now, we are just in a holding pattern, waiting for Union Pacific, who owns the structure, to provide an inspection or a loading rating or give us the authority to go in and do the inspection ourselves to properly be able to post the bridge at the right weight and open it up to traffic. We're hoping to at least have it opened up to pedestrian and bicycle traffic by the time school starts, and hopefully passenger car traffic by that time as well, but I'm not hoping. So
You ever
also-
been on the railroad?
Yeah, I know. My shop is right next to the depot up there,
Yeah.
so yeah.
also related to the bridge replacement and timeline for that, the DOT has bridge grants that we have to submit on by October of this year. So we're trying to get or work with Union Pacific to have them feed the bridge over to us so we can own the bridge and submit on bridge improvements on behalf. Kind of work with them to get that bridge replaced. And then ultimately the city would end up taking over the structure and maintaining it in the future. It's one of two access points to the neighborhood up there, so pretty vital to that neighborhood. And, we're just trying to work with the railroad to keep that moving forward.
So what is the Eddy Street Bridge? Is it over the train tracks?
Yep,
Okay,
Yeah. Simon,
okay.
I'm sure Parks and Rec would be happy if that gets fixed too, because
Right.
I know the teams, all the ball teams and stuff are
yeah,
choked trying to go up the hill. And
yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of activity up there for all that traffic to be using one access point, and our emergency services too.
It's always been unusual that the railroad maintain ownership there.
Yeah, we have, so working with DOT, they said there's about a dozen structures within the state of Wisconsin that are owned by Union Pacific or by a railroad, and we have two of them. So
Yes.
the other one is Jeffers, Jeffers Road, and that's another one that we.
Another very important one
Yeah,
over there.
Yeah.
yeah, one of our main connections to the downtown there, so,
Another one that's probably due for some work by the looks of it.
yeah,
Yes, yes.
yes. So,
And
yeah.
I find this stuff, it's kind of like, you know, my other love, parking. It's like, you can get lost in this topic forever. And I was just wondering if we wanted to, rather than have you repeat, you know, give us the full presentation right now and then have you repeat it, which does benefit me because it takes, you know, I'm kind of slow. Hearing it twice would be nice to learn from, but should we talk about like kind of, strategy of like how engineering works with the bid and what we like want to cover in our meeting next week, and like how we keep the kind of communication open throughout the year rather than, you know, like what happened this summer, which was like an email comes in and it's kind of like this panic of like, what do you mean?
Yeah,
Like,
so that's actually where I'm going next.
Oh, thank you.
2026 projects that are within the bid area. I just wanted to bring those two items to your attention because they do impact the bid. And then the 2026 street projects that are planned, right now are more, I'd say, on the west side. So Matha Street, Madison to Cameron, Cameron Street, Madison to Matha, Bellinger, Madison to Platt. And then we have Maple First to Third and Forest Street, which depending on what happens with the Eddy Street Bridge, that may be impacted, but Forest Street from Sarah Street, which is about the park area up to the trestle, railroad trestles.
So
That's
the
scheduled.
Scalloway rebuild, I see that's on the 2030 schedules out, that's shown there. in the
Mhm.
purple. Okay.
Yep.
So, that one, good.
Yep.
I do like seeing this in
Is that like,
Johnson Street section here, I see that.
Yep,
Thank you.
yeah, that's in 27.
Yeah, 27.
So that too, with the Dewey Street Bridge, does that make sense to go at the same time? That's probably a discussion that we need to have.
And then are we thinking about North and South Barstow? Because we have the Gibson ramp
Right.
also in
so-
that same time frame, which is like
Right.
a terrifying next 5 years for downtown.
Yeah, there's a lot going on. So then South Barstow bid, you know, we had there's actually quite a few proposed streets
Yeah.
in there for 2026. That's something that is a bid in favor of moving forward with like what we have proposed for 2026. That's probably one of the questions that I think is to get on the radar with the bid, you know, maybe some discussions do you want to see these go? Do you want to push them? You know, we can't push them too far, but and then it also makes sense to do construction in the same area in a group if we can. Just for mobility of the contractors.
Well, I think, you know, at least in the South Barstow interest, and listen to what we, you know, folks have been doing there, and then what we did this year on North Barstow. what's as far as like all the different assorted tear up in South Barstow, is that something that, we can push towards late summer season and not do immediately in the second quarter when all these businesses are trying to get back on their feet?
So to me, it's like, again, even hearing, I don't know how long we've been on it, but like, I have a hard time, like, okay, so how come Dewey's not fully colored and what does this mean? And like understanding the concept and the impacts is, I think, a longer process than what can happen with like our limited audience of the bid board. And then even getting through the logistics of like, who's impacted and how does the bid help communicate? So like, to me, the bid board is such a small audience and we don't have enough time in a meeting to like really dig into this. So my question for, the executive committee and next week for the bid board is, do we have a role in conjunction with Zeki of getting a better audience to this issue and having enough time to like better discuss it, understand it, one, and then have that like valuable feedback time of whose responsibility is it to figure out garbage surface during construction? Because expectations are, well, the city is going to figure this out for me. And we heard from Elrinka 2 months ago, like, no, we communicate what's happening and you figure it out. But without that
Well, and that's,
enough time
we
to
want
figure it out.
I mean, is it Bid's place, or Deckies or somewhere along the way, who to host an open house where we could go through, and the one we had for North Barstow was obviously pretty late in the program,
Mhm.
but ahead of time, like you say, something like that, where we can open that up and inform businesses that some of these things will be your responsibility to contact your garbage company and we can only do so much and the city can only do so much, maybe. Yeah, and is that our place? Yes.
I think that according to our revised operating plan, we absolutely have that as our scope of work. Now, like, are you, I and Tim going to, organize this? That's like when we turn to like Aaron and Becky to help facilitate it. And obviously you host your own, information and public engagement things too. But I think like getting back to the operating plan, like the bringing together is part of like what we set out to do. So like, can we do outreach to get, you're willing to show up and actually know things? Can we get the audience? Our role would be helping get the audience
Kind
there.
of twofold anyway. I mean, the open house for the information is great, but the piece of somewhat making some of the businesses aware of what we are
Mm-hmm.
is probably not a bad thing too.
Yeah.
An awful lot of people in the district really don't know what the bid is or does.
Mm-hmm.
It'd be good exposure besides.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm just thinking, that you set up a timeline for what you're doing in planning this, to have a timeline of where Bid and Decky need to get the information out to their constituents to say, city's doing this, but we're here to help or be your voice. We meet on these days, we can do email campaigns, we can do social media campaigns that let people know these things. And I think it's very kind of mutually beneficial to what you're saying to our people who are in our district, but also to us that they say, oh, we do have some voice here. So if I want to either compliment or complain, I can call somebody up and say, hey, here's what I think.
Wait a minute, this is a terrible idea.
Well, I mean,
Yes.
frankly, the people that engineering talk to might not be the same people that you and I talk to, kind of thing. So I don't see a downside to us saying, we're getting this information. It's not carved in stone, but this is what the council is looking at to approve. And if they do, these things are gonna happen. If you want to have a say in it, and then the other side of it, like, there are practical problems you're gonna have if this is your block. And you need to be aware of those. Here's some things that you can do. Here's some things the city's gonna do, and here's some things you might just have to live with.
Well, and I think one of the things that I run into a lot nowadays is everybody catches headlines.
Yeah,
And that's where a lot of late complaining comes to, I'm afraid. But I think if we can provide more direct to specific information, like you say, to your block, to your business,
yeah,
that's a big deal.
yeah, or the headline, you know, it concerns you, you might want to read this.
Yeah.
We have standard notices that we send
Yeah.
out. I mean, we
Yeah.
provide that to you. It's kind of, this is what we do for garbage. This is what you would be responsible for.
And I think you weren't part of this, but the last time through, it was the feeling of a lot of people in North Barstow, and it came to them too late. And I'm not casting aspersions on anybody, that's just the way it happened. And luckily, I think some people at Decky and other places thought it and said, wait a minute, we need to know and get this out to the people there. And the city then took some steps to alleviate some of those issues.
Yep, and that's why we're here to talk about 2026 today.
Yeah,
Yeah, and even the notices, like, I think providing that information in like, so I'm kind of leaning towards like the bid board should have a role in organizing and populating, an event, timing to be determined, that involves Decky and the city and as many business owners that we can get, or, try to get.
Well in advance, not
Yeah.
when the shovels start to.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then like, even like what you're saying, notices is like, oh, like, who are, like, if you wanted to be a recipient of the newsletter or these notices, like, where is this information?
Right.
When do you think, if the bid had, advice like, oh, we really don't want these two roads at the same time, or like that type of advice or requests, I guess, when's the pertinent, like, what's the deadline for you to actually use that information?
So I'd say, we typically are working on engineer reports for, these projects in November, December. Like, we have gone out and our survey crews have, for the most part, done survey on the streets for next year. They may have some streets that they're still collecting data on, but, it's the end of this year. I'd say this fall is like when we need feedback. So then we still have time to get out and get additional survey work on other streets if we need to.
So I feel like this is where Decky should come to play. Sorry, you guys. I'll do my
You're
best.
fine, I can understand you.
It was one of the things I presented at council last week is the public-private partnership and how we can be that communication tool. This does take a lot of time, a lot of energy. It would be pretty much a full-time job for someone, hence the request at $85,000 funding. However, I think even if I could be invited to a meeting with you and some people to initially kind of gather the information and then disseminate to the bids specifically, get more information and then go out. Even the Dewey Street Bridge, I got a letter in the mail yesterday at 11 a.m. saying that the meeting was Thursday. That's the first I'm hearing of it. And then I got it out immediately. Clearly just not enough time for people to plan their week. But if we knew this, or if you had known this project, or this meeting was happening 2 weeks ago, great time for me. Even if I knew 6 months ago and I work it in, then we can just do better. So I'm wondering how the city would want to continue to work with Decky in that capacity so I can be the liaison, because you don't need to be fielding emails from every business owner in the bid, asking questions you don't have answers to.
Mhm.
That's where we would take the information and then use our marketing dollars to help get that out there. Or again, even just the simple, MailChimp that went out yesterday that lets people know. So I'd love to be involved or Decky involved in the process, to just be able, because I know the immediate concerns are going to be garbage pickup. I know that's going to be like, wait a second, it's tourist season. This is when we're making money. Why is everything happening now? And if those things can be discussed early enough to do better timing, that's going to make a big difference when we get to 2 weeks out of the project. So Decky obviously is in a new position, a new role, but this is where I think our organization really has immense value, but it has to happen like coordinated. Because like we'll be calling Al and then he'll say, well, that's not really us. You need to contact streets. Well, I don't want to go on a goose chase. Like I want to be recognized as a partner to the city and be like, hey, Like, let's get this figured out quickly. I shouldn't have to like, contact 8 managers or whatever to find out one answer. Like, I would love the support of Gal to get to that next step. Like connect me with an email. Like, you actually need to talk to Elaine on this. Here's the email. So that it's not like a restart. Those types of things, I think if we could get set into play, it probably won't happen this year, but by the time that 2027, it would be really great if we had that formula worked out.
And I think with city staff, if we can keep it stable, and then the longer you're in your role, those connections
Sure.
it'll start becoming more efficient, hopefully.
Yeah.
I guess people know each other. If we still have turnover and we got a new, city engineer or whatnot, a new streets manager, then we got to make those connections again.
Yeah,
So
and I understand
try to
that.
do our best on that.
I just feel like there's we get a lot of calls when like someone from the public calls the city to ask a question and they get redirected to another department and another department. And they're like, wait a second.
Yeah.
And they find us. They're like, do you know anything about this? I'm like, I can try to help. So just that little piece, even with new staff, we just kind of have to figure out that chain, I think.
So I'm thinking for our meeting next week, and you are available to attend at 7:30 a.m. I think you said that you had that one on your calendar, that like the infographics, keep the same, highlight the ones that like are in our area again. But I'm gonna try to ask people to like not engage in discussion of those projects during our meeting, because otherwise like it's we'll eat up all of our time. But
Might I want to invite John Wilkinson.
idea is to say, knowing that these projects are coming up in the next 5 years, does the board support the bid, hosting an event with, in cooperation with Decky and the city in like late September? I know it's like Fall Fest and stuff, but,
Soccer
come
season.
September, I can actually volunteer during the day and like help get the word out. And then, we'll have to like pick the time and date, and who can make it is who can make it. And there's always the discussion of, work business days or business hours versus not, but just trying to like, and to your point, it's not like you either attend the meeting and you're in the know, or you don't attend the meeting and you get nothing. Like incorporating more, information throughout the time is great, but like, I do think that hosting an event is something that we should ask the board for support, and maybe they'll say no.
Well, no, I agree that, as much as I'd like to ask you some details on some of this stuff right now, I don't think that's what we need to be doing. We need, what's the process? And I would say not just an event, but other ways that we would disseminate and gather information both on both ends. So then, if we need to, Aaron can share it with you, or with others in the city, so that there's conduits. How's this information getting in and out,
Well, we can work on, well, maybe not necessarily a set process, but some sort of an order to which we're gonna do this in the future.
Right, especially now you got 5 years ahead of you, and say, okay, let's just schedule it up.
Mhm. All right. Can we move on to Galloway parking ramp?
Even more fun.
So this item, it really came to my attention for 2 reasons. One, we were told by a tenant that was interested in the jam first floor that they are no longer interested because of the condition or like the concerns with the parking ramp. And then I was at city council and the neighborhood
Like
Association.
yeah.
downtown neighborhood
They were
association
represented.
group had like 3 coordinated speakers with like lists of like noise violations, and then you told me about the speed bumps. And so the issue is that there's exhibition driving, really loud and fast, and feeling of unsafeness in the ramp, mostly at night. And the 4th floor was closed for a while. Speed bumps were added, but maybe people are taking the speed bumps out. So
Right.
that's why I
Right.
put it on here. And again, like, yes, we can discuss the item, but if we discuss the item, it'll probably, 30 minutes of education. So I guess my question is, should this be put on our full board agenda, and would the bid board want to write a letter? Just kind of the advocacy thing of like, this issue has come to our attention and it's detrimental to our district. Please give this the attention it deserves to have the issue resolved.
I attended a downtown neighborhood association meeting some time ago, and it definitely was a blanket of, that was one of their largest issues to discuss. And then in being down there a little more often, get into that later, but some of the kiosk updates and stuff I've been doing, I've been parking down in that area, and some of what I've witnessed in the evenings is definitely, I actually saw a kid, they pulled ripping out of the lower parking lot by RCU, and all of a sudden the kid flew out the door and laughed, chased the car down the street, jumped back in and drove away.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
So
So
he came out of the ramp.
Yeah.
Made basically a
they
big
made a
U.
big loop. Well, they didn't go back into the ramp. Came out, turned by RCU there, made the turn. The kid, they had the door open when they're driving along. The kid slid out and the car kept going, and they ran up. He jumped back in the car and kept on going.
So it
They're
was
all
the driver?
laughing. No, no.
Just
A passenger. I'm standing going, did I just see that?
Oh my God.
And they kept going.
So I actually have a meeting at 11 o'clock with the Downtown Neighborhood Association about the Galloway ramp.
I'm going to leave you or lose you in 22 minutes. I
22 minutes.
have budget questions for you.
Okay, so I can just tell you the things that we're working on right now. The first thing is getting more parking, speed bumps installed on there, and Laneburg's folks are
And to
installing
save
those.
time, would you attend our meeting next week and kind of
What day is
do
it?
Thursday, 7:30 a.m.?
7:30 a.m.
Okay.
I'm on my way out to
You can cover
Vegas.
it?
Yeah.
Because, like, I don't need you to repeat, like, this group is more just deciding what we're gonna cover at the meeting. So, I mean,
Yeah.
I value what you're saying. I just
Yeah.
don't wanna make you,
No, so I just very quickly, we're looking at adding, so there's money budgeted to do stuff in the ramp on there. So the first thing are the speed bumps. We're gonna try to do that. We've closed the top level. Trying to get, Todd Borer got me a vendor that can install those proximity arms, like you see in Minneapolis at the airport and downtown. You don't put pay in it. It's not gonna be an entrance and exit. It'll be internal where they're really speeding, but you'll come up there, arms will raise, and it'll just keep everybody slowed down. We're trying to get the passport, and this may require an ordinance change. Right now you have a 15-minute leeway period to pay. That may go away. So you come in the ramp, you leave in 5 minutes, the LPR captures your license plate. If you haven't paid, you're getting a bill, like on tollways or open road tolling and stuff. So we're hoping that the arms will slow people down, sending them a bill, if money is a concern. The last thing that we really have in our bag of tricks is to, especially with paid parking, if the parking utility has funds in it, have a minimum wage attendant, there in the evening, so it would be, $8.25 an hour, $7.25. It would be more of a volunteer opportunity, but try to have somebody there 5 to 10. I don't know what hours there are in there. Police department does their best, but it seems like every time they're called, they're gone.
Yeah.
So we don't have, so it's top priority. I've heard, anybody that's been to the parking meetings over the last year, the same 3 people from the neighborhood association have the same exact thing time after time. And so like our IT manager is actually working to try to get those cameras connected, but the cameras go into the cloud, they go into Passport, and they can't get back down to do anything with the data. So there's a disconnect on there.
I just put up a big sign that said these cameras are watching you.
Well,
We actually have signs like that.
Yeah.
And, they ask.
they know, they get away with it once and.
I can get my husband to volunteer. It would work.
can I ask the
Look at him, maybe like-
board to, vote to write a letter to staff to encourage to,
You
follow
can-
through with these?
Yeah, you can do that. I mean, we've had a couple of meetings and a couple of emails saying, if you can't do this, for staff, IT, if you can't do this, if you're not able to, let's hire consultants to do that. We had to hire the lighting consultant to come back and try to get our lights going again in downtown. So if we're not able to do it with our staff, let's hire somebody. So, because frankly, I'm getting sick of these same 3 people every single meeting.
Yeah,
And I'm not an IT person. I'm not, you know,
Yeah.
I don't install speed bumps, but so we're working on it.
well, and I believe
It's-
that, but if we can add to the
Yeah.
squeak and it does, you know, as long as it doesn't hurt.
No, you
Um,
send a letter, it'll help.
Well, and obviously it's
the council.
impacting businesses as
That's
well.
what
If
I
you're,
was gonna
if you're
say.
having clients that are saying they're afraid to do that because of what's going on, I mean, it's certainly within our
Well,
purview.
the residential, property owners are having issues keeping people in those
Oh,
apartments.
definitely, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we had Steve Nick living across the street for a year, so
Is
he
there-
would get feedback.
Is there anything else that you think the bid could be helpful with on this issue?
If it got into the point where there's like a budgetary item, for a staff member or something there, just to be supportive of that and help council understand when they see that service nod that, all right, we now have the downtown neighborhood association, we have the bid, we have Decky, you know, are all supporting that endeavor. I'm hoping we're able to get to it, but it's just a matter of,
Well, and
I don't know.
another voice outside of, like you say, it has been the same handful of people that I've encountered too, that are kind of the front people that have been put out there, but I think to have an additional voice outside of them that says something probably just reinforces what people that have maybe, you know, when you get the same people in front of you, sometimes you start to.
We do have $60,000, I believe, largely unspent in our capital improvements. So like if, you know, $10,000 towards the arms you thought would like make a difference, that's something that we could consider.
yeah, we have over $100,000 in accounts for that, so it's our ramp, we should be taking care of it. I don't think that's something that the bids.
Oh, we chipped in for that 4th floor. Like
But I think if we're gonna-
$100,000
if
on
we're
a
gonna leave
$1 million
that closed,
project.
If we're gonna leave
Yeah.
that closed, I think we need to have, you know, like Friday pop-up shops up on that 4th floor.
Ooh.
Well, and so, and I'll try to go like,
More people there, more activity, it scares away these kids that are being obnoxious
Oh,
anyway,
totally
you know, there's a whole thing happens there.
can we jump around this if I have to
Yes.
leave in about 14 minutes
Well,
or
up next
so?
is downtown parking, but I also really do have questions on the bid budget.
So just everybody's been engaged with parking to death. So it will be introduced at the next council meeting. Paid on-street downtown parking. I'm gonna recommend it start June 1st. I'm gonna recommend that it goes noon to 10 PM instead of 9 to 9 like John recommended. And then the district, it will be recommended to do like the parking study had, like he had recommended in there. And then my budget request, I requested parking administrator. Won't be part of this, the paid on-street parking, but it's in the operating budget. Parking administrator, administrative support, and then money for like John Forster for a consulting firm to help us get it up and running, you know, to start an implementation specialist. And then also a $20,000 request for marketing, like our transit has a marketing budget. Parking would have a one-time marketing to try and get the word out and as it gets going, and then presumably after a year, we won't need that. And that would be more for internal. So that would be like a Decky would be, you know, possibly qualified to do that, or the chamber if they had something or something like that. So that's the long and the short of it. So we'll vote at the end of August on that, the second 2 meetings.
Is there a length of time free in the parking ramps?
It's not part of the on-street, but there is, the parking ramps, he recommended 1 hour free on there. And then I want to get some kind of a downtown, you know, like for employees somewhere, you know, outside of the contracts that we have with the larger ones, but you know, the baristas, the retail, can they go to the top floor of the Gibson ramp and top floor of the Barstow ramp and park there for free or reduced or to do that? So a lot of those secondary issues will be on another parking extravaganza with the council. But this one
The one
is,
that were free in the ramp wouldn't
It
you
would,
voted on?
it wouldn't be with this, this part of the ordinances.
Just
I
to
guess I
make you think
could.
too, to go back to the discussion that we were just having with the nuisance and the ramp, if we're gonna charge them and they
Yeah.
come right back out right away, then we can't do that 1 hour free. So,
Well, in order to get an hour free, you
You
have
still
to
have to
start the clock when you arrive. So even to
You would
get.
still
Or,
put your.
or
an
it
hour
might
free,
be
you have
something
to
that
Register, which I
you get
think
an
would be a
hour
hard
free
thing to
if you've been there for 2
communicate.
hours.
right.
So,
Because
and
people would
if
be like, but I
Passport can
remember
back that
something.
off,
Yep.
To like credit it.
yep,
Yep.
credited,
That makes
so.
sense.
It'd have to be like,
So,
register
yeah.
for 1 hour free.
Right, yeah.
So, because of I wanted to have at least the paid parking, already implemented because that's such a financial component for the budget that will go into the parking administrator, discussion that's in the operating budget right now. The 1 hour free in the ramps would be a very small budgetary change,
Yeah.
a few $100s a month probably.
Will you have any of this like typed up that could go into our packet?
I have the ordinance, what I want. So legal's crafting what the ordinance looks like, but I have my talking points on there. Remove this section, add this section. These are the street sections. I have that in a Word document. I could send you that. I don't know if it'll make a lot of sense for people to look at, but yeah, I can send that out. That's.
Well, even from that, maybe we could make clip notes.
Yeah, I think that too. I think it'd be helpful.
But it's basically right out of the parking study.
Yeah.
It's just the hours have changed on it.
And then how do we, because
Like,
I
I
want
know.
to ask you so many questions, Dave, right now, but I'm like trying
And
to stay
I'm
focused.
free
How
I'm
do
free after
we-
2 today. I have
Okay.
meetings up until 2, but,
And then how do we, handle this in our meeting next week where we can like share the information, but not run out of time and, people to approve a budget because we can discuss parking all day long.
so I'm gonna be actually on a plane Thursday, otherwise I'd change plans. I could try to put together like a Teams meeting if you wanted to put that on. People could join electronically and I could just talk Wednesday afternoon, Leah will be at the meeting. I'm assuming you'll be at the meeting Thursday. She can carry the water, cause we're pretty synonymous, with all of this, but.
Maybe our presentation is, this is what's being recommended, and here is when it will be, presented,
I think
and
that's-
here's when you
And I can
can
do-
put your
All
input.
We should really do,
Exactly.
because I'm gonna guess that there will be 10 different opinions on
Exactly.
our board, and that is not gonna be productive for us to sit around and, tell you, micromanage this. If you wanna be heard, here's your council meeting, or
Yeah.
here's your council person, go talk to them.
No chance of
So maybe
writing
a
a letter
one
that
page.
represents everybody
I
on the
don't
bid
think so.
board.
Because I think some people see it different ways,
Yeah.
whether they're a user or, the business that's in front. And,
So I can try to put together just a 1-page memo with a map on it. It's the biggest thing with, these are the changes, here's the process and your opportunity for comments. And then here's the map and
That would be amazing.
then you can send that out, so.
Yeah.
That's,
Yep.
Yeah, and then we can cover it off at our bid board meeting, but Aaron's probably gonna turn around and send that out to the mailing list, which is good, right?
Yeah, yep. I don't want to be at the council with the public hearing and have people say they weren't aware of it, or they only found out about it the day before or something.
Right. Perfect.
I want everybody to have as much advanced knowledge as possible.
All right, well, in our last 10 minutes with Dave, can we move on to the bid offer? Nope, we're gonna, permission to talk about the budget before, the bid operating plan update was just that it passed.
Yep.
So
It's something we-
we can't
Gotta get it
discuss
through.
it unless it's on the agenda, so I have to write it, right? And then on to the bid budget. So I started crafting something. And then, thank you, Leah.
Yep.
I ran into what is our reality right now questions, because I've even told the board, I want to put one line item that says services subcontract through subcontracted through service provider.
Mhm.
So that like maybe even, with Decky next year, we have more wiggle room between if you wanna overspend in landscaping and underspend in marketing, or, like, and that's a board question too, like, are we comfortable with that? But like from a
So,
city standpoint, they're more so going like with payments to Decky, and like they're not even going to put it into the subcategories, is what I heard from Jennifer.
Okay,
doesn't the operating plan statute say we just have to provide a budget that they approve? They don't have to approve the line item spending, they have to approve our budget, right?
But it all
Right.
falls under RFP too, which gets
And
interesting.
then that got me to an email to Dave that said, Dave, we were gonna rewrite that RFP, right? And then I was going to do it the right way that had, like,
but then that all kind of felt, isn't it good for 3 years now?
that's what.
And,
Greg
and
said.
they got the money to you ahead of time.
How much can I change if we go with that one?
You're talking about changing
I think
within the blanket amount? Not changing the amount that we're giving to
Well,
paying
he
to.
said that you can update the amount. And I wanted to add capital improvements to Decky's purview
Right.
rather than the city.
Right.
And is that too big of a change? And you said that there was something about like a 25% rule or a 50% rule.
25% is, that's all the city will pay out ahead of time.
That's separate.
Yeah,
Oh.
for a change in RFP, that, I don't recall, that may have been Greg on there, but yeah, there is with change orders, when we have a contract out,
Mhm.
there is a limit on how much we can change order without having to reprocure, like Dewey Street Bridge. If it's $10 million, if we have a change order for 2 million, we're probably okay, but if it's a change order for 6, then that extra work we have to,
Mhm.
I don't know what that exact, threshold is on it. But yeah, the paying the 25%, that's so we actually have a situation now where there was a vendor that provided a material subsidy up front to purchase the steel for something. And now they're not doing that. So
Sure.
we're gonna have a bunch of steel laying around that isn't, that's sad. So that's what they're trying to prevent with that. But at least they got it to that point, because at first they're like, no way.
Sure. Decky has a good track record of returning money to the city when it's not there.
So,
For
yeah,
one
we
for
can,
one.
so yes, I think we talked and we are gonna try to have that updated by the end of August.
Update the RFP.
The RFP, if
and
you're gonna
send it
change,
out again.
either update it to include the capital, or see if we don't have to, if the capital can go in there and we don't have to update it, then you just change the numbers for next year and you can just automatically select, and that would be the easiest route.
Because I had like just kind of some made up numbers. Everything that would be through Decky would be 135,000, and that doesn't include their Decky contribution support, because that,
Yeah.
I need to figure out how to word that. We have it in.
Oh, yes, yep.
now, But
Like sponsorships, South Barstow did sponsorships.
sponsorship.
So,
Or-
that went pretty quick.
Yeah, that did go quick. But so.
I apologize. Can we talk this afternoon, or
Yeah.
I don't want to keep this. I don't want to be late for this group. Actually, I do want to be late for this group, but I don't want to be late for this group.
So we'll
I was
work
at
on-
some of those meetings, yeah.
We'll work on numbers as a group, and then Dave, I do think that you and I, maybe even sitting down with Greg to
Yeah.
be like, okay, what is possible
Yep.
under our new realities?
Let me,
Thank you.
Thanks.
yeah,
Thank
thanks, Dave. What I was trying to, and I don't have my computer with me, so I can't look, but my recollection is that either in the operating agreement or in the statute or both, we have the ability, once the budget is approved, it basically says, or at projection, or, the spending is at, so,
And the reserve.
so, yeah, do we have perhaps the ability to so long as we don't go over the total budget amount, to move it from column A to column B. I don't know if that's what you're kind of looking at, but there may be some authority that once the overall operating plan and the budget is approved, we can, so long as we don't go over that budget, move
We-
things. Now, I don't know that for a fact.
We
I
can,
just
we
have-
can, and we have reallocated within our budgetary items,
Yeah,
but it's, I think the question mark becomes is what the city is going to agree to on a payout to a service provider specifically.
right, right.
But yeah, we, in the past, we have, if a line item, you know, we didn't spend 10,000 on beautification, we wanted to pull 3,000 of that to kiosk or whatever, we've done that type of thing before, and the
Okay.
city, the city's actually never taken issue with, but
I feel like that was done under Aaron White's watch though, and there wasn't a lot of like oversight until after that. So it's hard to say,
yeah.
but you should with a full board. I mean, I think with a full board motion, you should be able to do that.
And our operating plan
Yeah.
does say we can, spend from our reserves, given that the reserves are there and that we vote on it.
Yeah, we did put leeway in there for the reserves as well, that's true.
Sure.
Yeah.
I know that Decky is looking for more support, mostly, I would say, due to just need for more people and wanting to do more. I had one idea, because I feel like with us, like, you know, we kind of take in 120, and last year we budgeted 170. Like, if we went from like 40 to, I don't know, like I'm a little mindful of like our percentage that goes to Decky, but we have like $10,000 that is earmarked for advertising marketing. One of my ideas is if we wrapped that into Decky activity, that, like, you know, that's more like we get this from Decky and it's not a subcontracted amount. So we could go from 40 to 50 without, you know, impacting our overall budget.
So Becky's not necessarily looking for more money from North Barstow at all. Like you would be fourth on the list of the bids. But yeah, I mean, between you and South Barstow, I mean, you are the areas we cover the most and do the most work, but you're already giving us the most money. To sustain and do, like, if we're gonna do something like we talked about at the beginning of this meeting, there's just no way to do it with 1.75 staff. It's impossible. We're contracting out for marketing services, so some of that money, our marketing budget gets spent that way, but,
Are you charging us for that? Are you
I mean,
I haven't
it's
seen
built
it on
into
any.
your service.
But, so what you're thinking of, Julie, is that if we want to get into the expenditure of our money directly, you're thinking that would be not part of our contract, but an independent buy-in for advertising marketing? Is that what
Like you would contract us as.
it'd be a separate piece from our current RFP? Basically what you're kind of,
Yeah,
I'm just trying to figure out how that, because I know that we've gotten a couple times when we had discussions about separating items, we kind of get the little swat on the wrist saying, oh, you can't.
it's, to me, if they hire Graham to create an infographic for the kiosk, we can get billed for that. But if Matt creates it, then it's a part of our
That's part of
contract.
Becky.
So to me, like, we're constantly asking for materials, and if it's just a matter of who's making it, like, to me, it's I want it done.
Right.
You can,
Well, I
Manage
guess,
how it's done.
are in that case, is it, and we're getting into splitting hairs at some level here, but is it something where our fees are paying for the consult through Decky, but we're paying the labor directly to Graham, essentially? Would that be a better way to do it?
well,
I don't know.
yeah, and I was assuming that Decky was gonna come in and, cause, you know, I'd sit on the Decky board and it's
Mhm.
like, okay, well, if we want to accomplish all these things that we want to, how can we actually fund that? And I'm going, well, we have this $10,000 of marketing that we always budget and never spend, and we're wanting it to actually happen. Is this a way to give them the staff time to actually do the
Cover
things
that.
that we talk about?
Right.
So we have the ability in our marketing budget to hire third-party vendors to give us the marketing
Because
product
it's a subcontracted.
assistance. So there's nothing that prevents us from asking Decky to give us some marketing services over and above our contract for them to be our administrators over that.
But then they have to hire themselves. And it's, right,
Yeah.
they'd have to.
Well, and
I wonder if because like we use Austin Bauer for our
Sorry,
marketing.
That's what I'm trying to
Right.
figure out is that when you say they'd have to hire themselves,
well, the thing from our perspectives, I think that we're running up against this splitting items going to the same vendor again, which we've kind of gotten shamed for, you can't do that. That's playing the game. And so there again, we've got you contracted for a certain amount essentially. I mean, we're not specific to that. But yeah, we want to make sure you're covered for whatever services providing.
So Decky's marketing, I just heard you have internal and external that you're spending money on.
Right. So, I mean, it's the collaboration, right? So we'll hire Austin Bauer. Each reel we do is probably $250 approximately. But then Matt's the star in the video. So they collaborate together. I'm wondering the cleanest way in just my brain would be to add that to our service agreement.
That's what I think.
Like, because we do marketing services. So in addition, we're kind of puffing up that amount for marketing specifically.
So is that in your question to Dave, then that was your thought is that if we take that 10, add it to the Decky payment and then just basically tack on additional marketing services part of our agreement, that's what you're questioning, whether we can just increase that annual amount enough to do that.
And we don't have any marketing company or outside service that we work with right now. So the marketing money we have budgeted is if we want to go get something printed or if we want to go make an advertisement or put something in volume 1, we're spending that money, but we are not frankly spending that money. When we want something to be publicized, we're going to Decky usually.
Well, and the biggest problem is you can't just go advertise at volume 1. You have to
Right.
get verbal quotes on ads and then.
Yeah.
And that line item was, when we came back to it in this last budget, was more intended specifically for kiosk advertising, marketing, that type of thing. We didn't really have any other points we were going to. Right now, we've terminated the contract with Opna. I have officially removed their software. I've installed our own open source software, and I'm running currently a non-interactive. It's a scrolling advertisement that advertises events in our district. It advertises Decky information and our information. It's just a scroll.
And who made that info? Who made that image?
While I'm doing the web design and the work that goes into that, I am actually clipping Matt's work for a lot of that.
And I'm saying like, we planned on hiring someone to make that image and Matt's making it. And right now it's coming out of the $20,000
Right.
general, you help us out. But like when we needed parking signage, I mean, it wasn't even my idea. I didn't say, Aaron, can you talk to the city and ask for free parking and then advertise it? Like Decky just made
And that's what right
signs,
now is
and they're really cute.
Yeah, what we've done right now is I'm building content. For the Decky portion of it, I'm just, Matt and I are collaborating on that. I've spoken to Graham, and just let him know that, we are coming forward with something if he clearly showed interest in being involved in this. And made him aware that yes, there's one way or the other, through Decky or through us, we can compensate who's budgeted for it. We're obviously not asking for a freebie from Graham, but although he has been providing some nice free services lately, but
Honestly, I think what Northwest just doing is like, you guys are you're the guinea pigs, right? So you're setting the stage for how this process looks in the future. If we went to another city and looked at their downtown org alongside their bids, it's worked into it as like an MOU, right? So if you give us $50,000, it is not your responsibility to tell us to make signs for North Barstow bid. It's the fact that you're paying us. We have this like, this is my job to recognize when North Barstow needs assistance, and we take care of it. And I think that's that we need to be able to be more autonomous in that role and not ask for permission from you and then to the city to be able to accomplish general economic vitality, development, stability in our downtown. It is our role and our mission. So you guys just buy into how much money do you want to give towards our organization doing that? I think that's what we need to strive for. We need less rules from the city down. We need that understanding, that partnership. And even when I presented to council, I mean, was my massive focal point is who is doing this in between work if it's not you guys? And it can't be the bids because you can't meet.
Open meeting.
Right.
Yeah.
So who's doing it? And then what is the result if no one's doing it? So, and honestly, really to ask for more money for you guys, it's twofold. Right now, we need it because the city's questioning whether they're going to give us any to sustain 2 years. Long term, if there's value in Techie, that's big enough, and you guys want to do that. I mean, I think it would speak for itself. So I think the way we go is getting it to a place that logically makes sense as business people. Like,
Well,
we want this work done.
This is the
We
build
have a
up.
partnership with you. Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
this is the build up.
Not that I don't want to follow their rules, but it doesn't seem like there is any set precedent for it's like we're making it up as we go.
Well, and Aaron, correct me if I'm wrong, like the city has actually said like having 4 different bids and, following this process is really cumbersome for city staff. It's not working for the city either. Like I think even
No one besides Aaron wants to work with us.
changing even,
Oh, I was just
like whether or not someone other than city staff is legally allowed to take notes is part of having this load taken off of city or the whole load, like definitely things that are legally required to stay with the city. But I think the city's kind of changed their tune.
I mean, Dave said it today. He said, when we can't do someone, we hire someone to do something. That's how all businesses should work. That's how the bids should
Well,
work.
and again, I think for our meeting, aren't we just trying to decide how we want to present this to our board to decide if we wish to,
In a budget format.
in a budget format, take some
It is-
role, and then we need to find out, I think coming back to the question that I was asking is, do we have authority to do it?
Yeah.
To change it after we've done something, because
That's,
if it's in the budget process, let's get it in the budget when we approve it, so.
The most important part of setting the budget is determining mill rate, in my opinion. Because that is set in stone what the businesses are getting charged next year.
Right.
And from there, reallocation, maybe like the Decky contract kind of seems set by, our budget, but how much we actually spend, I think
Yeah,
is
well,
how much we
that's-
actually spend.
Yeah.
right, but if we can't reallocate, then we need it in the budget right now. I mean, they've approved our operating plan, but that requires they also approve our budget.
well,
Yeah.
and there again, within our budget, I don't see any call for a big change to those items. It's more of the allocation.
Yeah,
And whether the city takes issue with that change.
right. So if we decide marketing is giving the money to Decky to do our marketing for us, that's the question.
Well, and I think until you can sit down with Dave and make that determination, we can't make a decision here, and we need the board anyway.
Yeah, let's talk
So-
some individual numbers, but I do have a question for you. Is there a timeline on when we get the new, assessment totals?
I actually have a meeting set up with Todd to go through them, not next week, but the following Monday, I believe.
So this happened last year too. We used to get the new valuation before we passed our budget, because then we know the effect of our budget on the mill rate. But last year, there was a big mix-up on whether or not residential, like multi-unit residential properties were assessed or special assessed. So then we didn't pass it until like the last day of September. But we have definitely run into issues with the bid board not wanting to pass the budget without knowing the
The last
impact on
3
the
years,
mill.
you haven't had it. Because, yeah, it was a big problem for South Barstow because we got 30,000 extra dollars in our budget that we didn't allocate because we approved before the mill rate came out. But it's been 3 years of that. And it always said it's coming, it's coming, it's coming. But it should be able to be done at the end of the fiscal year or end of July with property taxes coming in. I imagine that's when assessment happens, right? So you should, there should be no reason why you can't have it in August unless it's just not run. But you don't have an assessor right now, or you did just hire someone?
I don't believe we have one yet.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think there is.
So is there any
Is there a restroom?
Yeah.
chance that
Um,
we're gonna
Down
have?
this
It's like
hall,
they air and it's 2 a.m.
down this hall to the right. You have to go through the like entryway.
We meet August 7th. But it sounds like you're meeting with Todd after that. Like,
So if you want to set a dollar amount, well, you know, because Mogensen's gonna want to know.
Well, we back into, I mean, we always back into it anyways. We generate a budget dollar and then the mill rate is generated backwards out of that.
And then you pull
But
from your
most of the time.
reserves.
Well, that's the way it is done, but yeah, I mean, we don't set a mill and go from there, but I
well,
mean,
what
what,
we do
so,
sometimes is we pull from reserves
Right.
accordingly.
right, yeah. But I don't, is there anything in this cycle that we're gonna be doing a reserve draw for?
We always set our capital, like, are we gonna do structural lighting next year?
Right.
I would love to say you will, but I think it's gonna take, I have had zero time to work on that, and South Barstow wants to do it too. It should be kind of collective with like the legal agreements that are gonna have to happen. I imagine this is it could potentially happen by the end of 2026.
I say it's a multi-year thing by
I would say
any
probably
means.
2027 for sure.
Yeah.
We could have like all the groundwork laid for it. But that doesn't mean you're not planning through reserves for that, right? Like you're already putting money towards it.
Well, and that's the thing is it's just carry in the reserves anyways, whether it's, whether we end up allocating it in 26, 27, wherever that is,
It's a reserve project,
Yeah.
really.
I know I looked up in our meeting notes, but like, we kind of had a plan for what we were spending our improvements to property this year. I know it was Garland.
$16,000 for purchasing garland, purchasing lights, and then annually it will probably be like 3,000 to 5,000 with labor.
Oh, so where should I should add that to banners and maintenance.
For this year, but that would be maintenance though, for next year. So this year, you
For
guys,
next year.
I've already talked to Tom, we're moving forward with this
yeah.
project.
Right.
No, but was there anything else in improvements to property, paint trash cans, Garland? I thought, oh, we want new banners, but wasn't there something else
Yeah,
that
well-
was significant?
The garbage, well, all of the garbage stuff, I don't think there's enough stock at forestry. Like, I think you're gonna have to invest in either new cans, new liners, new lids. So that's gonna actually be probably pretty significant. You had talked about the electrical, but that doesn't seem like that's happening.
I know.
And there's no need for that really,
Okay.
I don't think. The only other, well, it could be beautification. Let me think.
Well, then maybe next year we don't spend that much in
Oh,
improvements to property.
Half Moon Lake. Didn't you wanna, that was your other big, like, are we investing in helping the city build a new structure or?
Yeah.
I feel like there's a lot going on with Half Moon right now that maybe we should see what they're gonna
Well,
do.
that's a little bit in the air just because, yeah, the city has a couple different times shown interest in making some updates to that and doing some things, but we've never gotten a solid answer as to what the plan might be.
Well, they started pulling more weeds out.
And you know that all of that work that we're talking about, capital improvements, has to go through the city.
Exactly.
So
For-
we should
For
kick
Thomas
back,
Lee,
yeah.
I wonder if you should, on your
I
next
need
board
multiple
agenda,
bids or something.
allocate more money to us. Can't do that.
We have to think through
Okay,
that.
so this is,
But like trash cans, it'd be easier if we waited until January
right.
and allocated it for next year.
So West Grand has a meeting Thursday and they're voting on like identical stuff. to approve money for the lighting project. They're gonna probably do garland and lights. They're gonna work with Thomas Lee. I just have to get other quotes. South Barstow works with Thomas Lee. It would be so foolish to have a different vendor, but we can get quotes. So I'm wondering if you put it on your agenda
Yeah,
to approve that project through capital improvements, and then we go out and get the quotes for you, and then you get to decide which vendor it is.
who's keeping track of our agenda for next week? Let's have it.
I've got a few notes on it.
Okay, so, yeah, action required on Garland authorization. And what we generally do is like we up to a dollar amount,
So I would say,
make a board approval.
so the invoice he sent us was like 16,700. So if someone would do a motion to pull
Up to
Up to
20.
$20,000 for the lighting program, and then I'll go out and get bids.
Yeah.
And actually, we just need 3 written quotes.
Okay,
Can I go back on one thing?
yes.
So
please.
you're looking for the assessed values before, okay, I've got them.
Oh,
I
sweet.
just-
What?
Just pull them.
For
just got 'em.
2026.
I will send it
I
out.
don't know that there would be any big changes because that wasn't reassessed.
You get that to West
But
Grand
Still,
too,
it's good to
for
base
their
it off on
meeting.
that anyway.
Okay, so advertising, marketing, we had budgeted 10,000 for this year, and I don't know if any of that has actually been spent, so I'd add that to the fee for the service provider fee. So that there's more flexibility in how that gets spent. Auditing is 100 and it always is. No news from the city of that number changing. That's kind of our share of whatever they, they just take it. Beautification, 20,000. I kept the same last year, even though this year we overspent. I'm just throwing numbers out there. I
Would
didn't have
you
a
be-
reason to change it, so I didn't.
Would you be interested in expanding your beautification efforts through the planters?
Through this is grant.
Sorry.
So, definitely a board, item for discussion too, but, sponsorship, last year was 10,000. We're actually on track for spending it this year. We're at 8,500. And I'm sorry, this is my math, but Erin, correct me if, I did this before you sent out financials, but I think I did it right. You have it in our packet.
I have less than that right now. Oh, but that's year to date.
I have 5,000 sculpture tour, 1,000 Eau Claire Marathon, 1,000 Jazz Fest, 1,000 Chippewa Valley multicultural event, 500 Kids Market.
Yes, and we just haven't had one of those
Okay.
cashed. So wait a second, I'm missing one. Oh, because I hadn't done it yet. Multicultural just went out last Friday. I should let you guys know, I had to void a check because they applied through Jonah. They wrote the check to Jonah. Jonah can't cash it. Their pass through is Emmanuel Lutheran Church. So that just got put in the mail. So you are right. I'm gonna update this anyway for the full board packet.
Last year, we budgeted 60,000 for improvements to property, maybe 17,000 to garland, painting trash cans and new banners. But we don't have a plan to spend that full amount this year. If we put in like 30,000 next year, that would definitely take care of painted trash cans and new banners that we could purchase through Decky more easily than getting like multiple bids this year. So I'm kind of saying like we could just push that forward, and I don't have a capital improvement big project next year because maybe we'd be saving up for the structural lighting a following year. For miscellaneous contractual services, I put in $10,000 for legal services and 30,000 for service provider, because that's the 20,000 that we paid this year plus the 10,000 of marketing. I have no idea what to budget for legal services.
Well, if you use them, excuse me, if you use legal services, figure in this market, you're probably gonna pay $250 to $400 an hour. But frankly, unless there's a issue with the way we've set this up now, I don't see that we're going to be spending money on legal services. And, you know, okay, well, you have a volunteer lawyer sitting next to you, but, you know, I'm not immune to understanding why people get put on boards, but,
No, as far as like the
I'm just giving you.
operating plan, like looking into that, like.
It would be
we're
nice to
under
know
the
what bids.
$300,000
Right.
level, like,
I would-
I feel like we never got that answered.
Yeah, I would suggest that maybe instead of just calling it legal fees, you call it professional service fees.
Sure.
You know, you may need advice from an accountant, you may need advice from insurance people, you may, you know, if we do events, there are sometimes things that come up that you have to pay for. So, you know, it's one of those things where, again, yeah, if you need it, you have it, but if you have to reallocate it, it's pretty easy to say, okay, we didn't spend it here.
Right.
Now we have something, you know, somebody comes with a nice plan, they want to do a mural, you know, kind of thing, let's do it, or that sort of thing.
I wonder if to prepare for 2027's expenditure of structural lighting, if we're doing any professional or like legal agreements,
Yeah,
Absolutely.
with business owners so that
Well,
we could
I
actually
would-
move forward.
Navigating
but
that.
I would say for those types of things, city attorney, you say you're our attorney.
Oh, yeah, you're
stop
right.
in and Do it.
Yeah.
You know, I'm serious, I mean,
Being
that's,
technically a city entity,
that's what they're
the
supposed to
agreement isn't
do.
really
Even
with
if it's on
us.
private property.
Yeah, even if
Well,
it
yeah,
isn't with
because
us.
because it's
bid.
it's an agreement with us or
With
Yeah.
the city,
with
technically.
the city, yeah. So remember what a lot of what we were told, and I think it's correct, is because we are a city committee, basically, then they have to do these things. And so we want them to review these contracts, you know, because we need to enter into a contract. And the contract is gonna be, if it goes south, the obligation is on the city.
Yeah.
That was really Steve's point about a lot of this stuff is if something goes bad, they don't sue us, they sue the city.
Right.
And so, again, for those types of things, we don't have to hire our own legal.
I think we would be backburnered though. Like they'll just be like, this is not an important thing that we will be dealing with.
Well, in that
Wow.
town that, has the
Hartford.
structural lighting now, like, would there be an initial consultation that would get us moving in the right
Yeah, so
way?
yes, I plan on reaching out to them. Thomas Lee said that when South Barstow was meeting about this, that they were reluctant to share information, but I think a Freedom of Information Act would also work. So I'm gonna start by contacting those communities, asking about what the agreement looked like to be able to do that.
Well, and I think and this is kind of the feel I got too, the same as you did with this, that, you know, that because it's the city, but if, I think it's something at the point of the discussions we've had, we could request, okay, if, you know, we go with this, we bring it to the city, we bring it to Steve, we bring it to Janessa and say, you know, here's what we're working for, we need your
This
guys'
is the
input on
goal.
this. And if they say we really can't do that, and then comes the point where we push for it. Well, then can we get outside counsel to assist us with this under your advisement and work forward? And that was what they told us in these meetings that we could do.
Well, and I mean, a lot of their day-to-day basic work is reviewing contracts and giving advice on contracts.
Yeah.
That's what they should be doing, whether it's for us or for anybody. Because again, you ask any decent lawyer and the first thing they're gonna tell you is, talk to us before you sign the contract, not after you're stuck in a problem, because it's a whole lot cheaper on the front end
Mhm.
than on the back end to
Right.
deal with this, you know. Litigators cost a lot more money than things. that-
Yeah, so I think you're right. We still allocate it maybe as whatever professional fees, and then again, back to figuring out munis codes and how we budget these things that fits with the city's
Sure.
budgetary. I don't know what code or item that's gonna fall under, and we still have, through the process, we've never been able to get a list of munis codes that would be pertinent to us. We've tried many times.
Well, and now I'm thinking, like, here's my spreadsheet, everything I have hired in yellow or highlighted in yellow, I don't think we'll end up with a budget with these under municipal.
Within the
I
city.
think it'll be subcontracted
Sure.
Right,
services.
right.
And then in our contract with Decky, we'll
Yeah.
say, we budgeted this for this,
Right,
through
right.
this.
And that's where we'll set up, yeah. So I missed the number you originally presented. You said
Well,
10,000?
I said 10,000 for professional services and 30,000 for service provider.
Professional or consulting services, I think either one of those you could say, because again, maybe there's somebody who can talk to you about, well, lighting or internet or whatever it is. Those are professional consultants,
And then I have 6,000 for garbage service. I just threw that out there because it's up from 5,000. But, I don't know how much due diligence we want to do.
I would say that, well, remember that the city's still trying to figure out what they're doing with trash hauling. And so it's very possible they'll be buying out and contracting services for trash, which would change who can pick up your trash and how. Yeah.
Because we need more services dumped on the city, but.
Well, exactly. So they would contract with one of them. The biggest problem is
Right.
that you guys can't use that provider because they don't have manual labor to remove the cans. So you'd still have to find someone to do that.
I feel like that is very much over my head. I'm glad that I'm not in that issue. When Dave says he's in parking and garbage,
Yeah.
hell, I assume that's related, but what do you think of my $6,000 number?
Well, and I guess Earthbound is going to try to stick around no matter what, and I would imagine could still provide this unique set of services if needed. So 6,000 sounds good. I would raise it a little bit. Again, if people are coming down, there's gonna be more trash. We're already seeing twice a week pickup. South Barstow does twice a week pickup from May through October.
So they've not given any overall idea of an increase. They're just saying there will be.
They increased last year,
Right,
Earthbound.
okay,
That was related to the fees the city set
right.
to up haulers' costs, like truck licensings and stuff. So at this point, there's no additional increase that anyone's aware of.
Okay.
Except for you and I agreed to add a second pickup in one location
Right.
because we had a little wiggle room in our budget.
Right, I would
But if we maintained that service,
And I think
Last
you
year's
should
budget would
plan on
not
it.
be
Like I
good.
said, even South Barstow's they're going earlier and earlier where they need
So
twice a week pickup
what
because
is-
people are coming downtown.
What would our current increase be over last year's if we go 6?
500.
Yeah, I think that's like a no-brainer.
Should I
I
do
just wonder if we need, I
6,500?
just wonder if maybe we shouldn't go an even 1,000 just to cover.
All right, I will, because if we don't spend it, we don't spend it. And if we need to spend it, I'd rather not get board approval, even though I think this is gonna be lumped into
Yeah.
a decade.
So 6,500.
Yeah, insurance, I've gotten no notification of it changing from 500 as a city, service. And street maintenance, I changed from 26,000 to 10,000 because I moved, weeding and planters out of street maintenance. So I have 10,000 written only for snow removal, which like doesn't cover much, but we usually don't spend
We
it,
haven't
so.
been-
Banners and maintenance, I increased to $6,000, knowing now that we'll have to take up and down the garland, and we may want to do more banner swap outs.
rotation, yeah.
So rather than 1,000, I put 6,000. Does that sound like enough?
I think in a growing program without an idea, yeah, that would definitely get you one like new set of banners and this garland.
Well, I think banners should come out of capital improvements.
The purchase of them, you're talking about the labor for
Oh.
it.
Okay, so you were talking about the labor? banners?
No, I was throwing in the purchase order. Labor is like, no problem. Like your banner bill is like $200 to go through and check everyone and up, yeah.
So then, under botanical supplies, I put 18,000 for weeding and planters, and we don't need to discuss where it belongs. But, this year we had 16,000 budgeted for weeding and planters, and you made a comment about the beautification grant, thinking that you should do more planters.
Well, so South Barstow has 30, or I think it's 27 planters, maybe it's 37, you have 8. South Barstow is expanding their program by buying the large planters and putting them on every set of 4 intersection corners from the lake to Eau Claire Street. They are, if you've seen the big ones, they're amazing. They draw so much attention. So Jen's already planning on doing that for them. I think it would be awesome to continue the vibe throughout the entire district. They're beautiful. People are standing in front of you and taking pictures. But you don't have to. I just think that you guys could do a little bit bigger impact with a few more planters. But it's up to you. I mean, the 8 you have are nice. I just think again, like, they really make a difference, like on Main Street where all that construction is, like it distracts you from.
I know, they look really nice.
Do we know roughly what each of those is costing right
I can get prices. So the wholesale cost for the planter is probably around $300 or $300 to $400. And then the watering, so even though they're self-watering, there's still a labor associated with it, filling them, but also when they get that big, the water doesn't have, like when it rains, it doesn't actually hit the soil. So Jen's maintaining that, but I would say the plant budget for that is really what will be the cost to you to fill those planters. I can get, I'm actually meeting with Jen after this because we're talking about it. So we were going to get an idea of like what one of the extra large planters costs.
And we went with the large, not the extra large.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
I guess, yeah. We've got how many now?
You have 8.
And it's that Galloway and Barstow intersection that has 4 of them. That looks really nice right now.
I think
guess if we could pull together some numbers and, bring that to the full board
Mm-hmm.
as a piece, then.
Well, what you could do is put additional dollars into that. Again, same concept that you had as if you decide not to expand the program this year and just go with the traditional, roughly $15,000 to $18,000 that you're spending. It would just go into reserves to build for that structural lighting. And I think that's a good way to assess like a current budget and then future planning with your reserves. Because then you have time to decide later, right? If you want to expand the program, the dollars are there, but you don't have to spend them all.
Yeah, and there's the initial planter cost, but like you said, the ongoing cost is the upfront one. And I'm kind of curious from Jen, like our weeds are really bad in the beginning. Is that expense shrinking as our planter expense grows?
So she just came to a Water Street meeting and presented to them because they have a lot of weeds. And so we talked about kind of how it's built over the years. So when she started with South Barstow, which was 3 years ago, it takes about 3 years to get to the point where they're not self-seeding all the time. So what she's doing is she's opening up more time in South Barstow now to do other projects. And she's noticing the same things happening in North Barstow. You guys probably need another at least year under your belt before that gets better. So she kind of presented that same thing to Water Street. It's like starting now, like it's going to be a 3-year project to get you to the point where we're controlling the seed spread. So yeah, I think she's finding that she's opening up more time, and that's where she is presenting the South Barstow. Like, I have more time. Let's add more planters because I cannot maintain that because I don't have to do weeds as much. Although this year also was the worst year she's seen in like a decade for weeds and seeds. It's just a lot of pollen in the air. And, yeah.
So I still don't, you said if you wanted to like have availability for it, what do you recommend it building into our budget if we decided to move forward with it?
So what you currently have 18, is that what you said? I would add an additional I'd like to spend money. I'd ask an additional $5,000 because unless you're,
I've
unless,
already added 2 to this year's.
I just
This year is
realized.
16.
So the planters though would come out of capital improvement.
Yeah.
So then never mind. I'd say another 2,500 seems reasonable for plants and maintenance.
So go from 16 to 18.5 or go from 16 to 20.
Cause you already added 2. And when you added 2, what was the thought process for you that you need more weeding or just in general?
Cost always goes up.
And that's the other thing.
Yeah,
plant costs.
because last year we ran into the issue where it was like, do you guys want winter greens? And I was like, yeah, that's what we talked about, but that was before we had a contract. And I don't know what you've done with Jen this year, and I'm grateful for that. I'm fine with that, but I assume that it includes winter greens, and I just want to make sure
Yeah.
that it does.
And with winter greens too, a lot of that is the initial investment because there'll be pieces that get used year to year. I would say if you're looking at, you had 16, I think I would go up to $20,000 and just have wiggle room. That's what I would do.
And then, if we have,
More planters, more winter greens, more,
if we have $30,000 for, painted trash cans, paint and more trash cans and banners and planters for next year, that should be enough wiggle room.
I think so. I imagine you're not looking to add a ton of cans. So last year, there was about maybe 8 garbage cans in storage. 1 or 2 have been placed because of broken cans. So again, I'm waiting on a full inventory list from the city and find out what we have. A bench is about $2,000. A garbage can was around $500-$600. It depends if we're going local and get a, local welder or whatever. The lids and the liners aren't going to be much money. Painting the cans, so we painted 8 in South Barstow. 8 of the existing cans were painted. We did that through Wisco Finishers, and it was a $3,000 bill. They took them off site, powder coated, and they were replaced.
In 2024, we budgeted 5,000 for painting recycling bins.
Yeah, and then they give back 10% to a charity of your choice, which is pretty cool. That being said, I would say that 5,000 for painting cans is plenty.
Okay. So with a $20,000 Ducky sponsorship, which is, of course, I got it all.
Okay.
That would be a total of $163,100 compared to last year's $173,000. So it's $10,000 less, basically by decreasing capital improvements from 60 to 30, increasing professional services by adding the $10,000 of professional/consulting services, and then, smaller added additions to banner maintenance, weeding. I don't know where the rest went.
And then the 10,000, just moving the marketing.
Moving the marketing.
So under last year's budget, we had a pull from reserves of 50.
Yeah, that's from memory, but I bet it's even in our.
It was 50.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Okay, but our expenditures this year won't delve into that.
No, because we're underspending on capital improvements,
Right,
and that's the biggest chunk.
So this year, we're keeping roughly the same mill rate, roughly the same assessments. We're pulling 40 some odd out of reserve technically, even though we're putting it back in this year.
That's the plan. And if we don't spend in snow removal and we don't spend in professional consulting, like the only one that we're actually going to be guaranteed to spend is like the advertising marketing.
Right.
I think it's a good budget, Julia.
Bring it to the full board and see what they say. And I will have to talk to probably Jennifer. Was she planning on coming to our full board meeting? Or maybe I can just talk to her before that. Because I feel like this whole highlighted question is how does Jennifer want to see it? Because I don't want her to come to, the council vote and be like, That doesn't work for
We
us.
don't.
Yeah, email her today, copy me. I know she just got back from vacation this morning, so she's playing catch up, but
I saw her
yeah.
in the
Yeah,
hallway.
we
Yeah,
ran into
yeah,
it.
yeah.
I'm like, are you on the way to our meeting? Okay, I'm sorry. We will move on. That's kind of the meat and potatoes for today.
Are you wanting a motion to put that forward or just, you're good like
I'm good like that.
I think it's.
That
that? I do.
just needs to be passed on. Pretty
If
good,
I-
I guess.
If I had my meeting with Jennifer and Dave
Sure.
under my belt to say this is the proposed one
I would
and
get it
it
out
has a
beforehand.
recommendation, yeah.
Yeah, I would get it out if you can beforehand, because it's just easier for, especially, some people really have to look at numbers. Not me, I just accept what people tell me.
And like a week ago, I tried making progress on this with like an email to Dave and Greg, but it just like dropped and then it was like, oh, it's happening today. Okay, let's go. So on to,
Is there any money that's needed for the kiosk that you haven't talked about or that come out of the marketing?
I think we should be well within that marketing advertising. I don't know if we'll have any physical updates needed. It's mostly gonna be content at this point.
Okay.
The software I'm using is an open source, so we don't have any fees involved.
Okay.
Yeah, should be
You
fine.
know what, Julia, I just remembered the other capital improvement
Yeah.
that keeps coming up. Blaine is very interested in getting music on North Barstow. And that's come up quite a bit.
Mhm.
I know.
You don't have to talk about it at all.
I think that might have been the thing that we were going to look into this year to spend the rest of that
Well,
money.
and there was some
Don't do that.
discussion, South Barstow, do they need some work done on their portion of it coming up, or,
No, their speakers have hit the like shelf life, but they're still working.
but they're physical? Okay.
Yeah, so they're just expecting that they'll have to start replacing speakers. The
Okay.
thing for North Barstow is that you guys currently don't have a place to like house, like where it would feed from,
Right.
right? And then that actually is changing for South Barstow because it's currently housed in the parking ramp. So it has to move.
And if we did figure out a capital improvement of speakers this year, we'd probably be adding at least $10,000 in music maintenance or whatever, hosting.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yep.
I don't know how you,
Converge runs the program. They said that it's $15,000 for South Barstow, but if you add it on, it'd be the same programming. It could be the same programming unless you wanted something separate. And then it would just be a much smaller amount. So it'd probably be more like
An increase.
$18,000
An
split
increase, not a
between the
double.
two bids. Yeah.
so that would be budget, 2026 budget impacting.
If you moved forward with it, yeah.
I'll put it on here because then we at least remember to discuss it.
Sure.
Well, I guess
I'll have to pick a line.
I remember the discussion, like you do, though, that there was a talk that South Barstow was going to have to at least look at their.
Yeah, when the ramp comes
there
down.
was some question there,
So the
yeah.
question would be, if the speakers are going to be changed out or modified or whatever. the
Good timing to
smart for us
start doing.
do it.
Well, and we've had, I mean, obviously we'd have a lot of, we've got underground work that would have to happen for wiring, or if, if we go to some sort of wireless service system, there's a lot of things there that
You
are
guys
kind of
have,
questionable, but
oh, yeah, I guess. I'm just thinking the electric for the speakers is on the poles. Converge is also looking at an office at Pablo, or they're working on an arrangement with Pablo, and that's where ideally everything would be housed moving forward.
Okay. RFP services in 2026 was put on the agenda because I didn't know if we were going to be submitting another RFP for next year's services. And I think we can just have that information today here. And then next week, hopefully I have more information from Greg and Dave as if we can work within our current RFP or if we need to submit a new one. And he did say that if we have an RFP published in October, it will be enough time to have a response and a selection and a contract in December. So we're not like in hot water as far as if we have to do a new RFP, it doesn't have to be approved by the board next week. We have
Right.
one more cycle.
Okay.
But if we get the agreement that we can increase this by $10,000 without reissuing an RFP, then we probably should have something on the agenda to take action to approve that change.
And see, here's the thing. We think of it as we're increasing our service by $10,000, but they look at all of the subcontracted services. So that's when like adding $30,000 of capital improvements,
Mhm.
like they go, and maybe it will be okay, because we're going from like 70 something total to 102 so far on my sheet. So it's not just the $10,000, you know, like
They're
they
taking the full.
Right, right.
they look at like, we're giving Decky $100,000, not,
Right, oh yeah, no, absolutely. But
and
if we don't, there again, if they look this over and decide that we don't need to reissue that RFP, we still need an action item.
Yeah.
in October.
Well, he's saying you could do it at this meeting.
We
but-
could even, if we get the nod from them, which I'm not necessarily expecting,
Yeah,
but we could actually make that motion this next meeting.
okay,
If we're not actually reissuing an RFP, if we're just getting the members to say, yes, we agree that we want to move that 30,000 over to the pay to deck.
okay.
It would be very helpful for Decky to know that stuff too.
Well, it just gets it on
We're
paper.
in-
Everybody's in agreement.
Are you keeping us on agenda items? Can we do, RFP as a action item? And that way we can either
Modification of RFP or something.
even
Sure.
authorize me to come up with a new RFP that would be voted on. I guess we wouldn't need an action for that, but like, yeah, just to find out what the board wants to do.
Yeah.
And then beautification grant updates is our next ones, and I feel like we did this last time. Is there anything else on the agenda that needs to be discussed at this meeting, or is this all stuff that could be discussed at the full board and not like repeated? It's beautification grant updates, sponsorship requests, which we have action required, but sometimes we don't even make a recommendation.
There's
Decky
no
contracted services, action required.
For Decky contracted services.
Mhm.
I'm guessing it's so that we can, wait, is this agenda?
This is the current, yeah.
Yeah, it was more that if you're gonna build this into your budget, basically. I don't know.
Well,
Why
I
did
think,
we-
I mean,
I didn't
with
read
the
this.
sub items you've got here discussing, you listed as
You and I did.
landscape.
I'm like, I'm
You
not sure.
listed as landscape planners, kiosk and banners. Were you thinking it was just that modification of the agreement to include those things?
Oh, yeah.
And
that- was that
it
the
might have
thought?
been from our last meeting when I wanted that motion for this is what Decky is authorized to do, and this is what requires full board approval.
Ah,
I think it might have just been a holdover accident.
Yeah, because barring any information on what the budget allows us or the city allows us to add to that RFP, I don't know of anything else of action there.
All right, well then
I can't think of it.
unless there is any other objection, is there any other objection to ending the meeting at this time?
I have one quick more note that I think we can, and we'll get a lot of stuff on that upcoming agenda, but maybe I can just throw it in there. I can just make a little quick notice and send information out about my meeting with Dave Miner on the chamber and this
Idea.
new program that's coming forward. I think that we want our bid people to know about that one and see if we can get it out there. So, maybe just, no action, just that I can introduce that information.
My only announcement is that grand evening on the bridge is coming up August 13th. So if you haven't gotten your tickets, get them. Or if you want to be a sponsor of the event, you get free tickets and it's going to be delightful. We're also announcing the Downtown Enhancement Grant winner at this year's grand evening. And so that's exciting.
Any other agenda items for our next meeting or announcements, city staff updates that you want to
Think so.
get out at this time?
What about ambassadors? I didn't mean to bring it up, but
Say like, we should have that at our meeting, but I feel like we can't.
so I think there's the only concern about ambassadors is that the program is You know, 2/3 or this year is almost over with ambassadors. We only have one more year covered by ARPA funds. And at this point, we haven't really received any statistics about like what they're doing, tracking, knowing, and that should all be like proprietary information in their database. But more so, if nobody's working on figuring out how to fund this program, it is going to go away in a year. I know there's been some contract issues about kind of like what they're doing and what they're supposed to be doing, but it's definitely something that the bids and DECI really could be a great partner with. And at this point, we have zero authority control opportunity to kind of work or suggest how things happen, down to even I invited them to Fall Festival to have like a booth where you can meet the ambassadors and talk. So I went through the city to do that invite and I was told that. And then I also was like, that day we're going to have different things going on in the district you cover. I'm wondering if, you know, we could coordinate like what that looks like. But I was told that DECI could have its own contract with Block by Block if they wanted them to help with events. And so like that disconnect is pretty striking to me.
Yeah.
And so like, I just worry, I worked really hard for years to bring this idea forward.
Yeah.
Like it was like 5 or 6 year project.
You feel like it should be a partnership.
Yeah, I would love to see this work because it works around the nation.
Yeah.
And if it's a management issue, that concerns me because I feel like the nature of Block by Block, and you know, people are like, hey, do you know it's a for-profit business? Yeah, who cares? For-profit business that does work they say they do. I'd just like to make sure that however it's going on, it gets managed well and that we don't miss an opportunity and lose it in a year when we probably really need it and we just don't really know what those numbers
Well,
look
they,
like.
and they, you know, in the meetings I've had with them early on, they said they track everything. They have all this information and they're, and to not see any of it is a challenge to get anybody to make any efforts going forward. And how do we quantify anything? You know, well, we want to support this again. Well, what have they done?
And we can be a good marketer
Number
of that
of
as
garbage
bids and as
Actually,
DECI.
by pounds, I think they told, well, by gallons, they calculated the
I know,
garbage at
but
that
that's
meeting.
I used a 15-gallon
I
bag.
know, but I thought it was interesting.
Yeah.
Nothing more?
I think that adding it to our October meeting feels like manageable.
Yeah, like a strategy for next year and like how that relationship plays out.
So if we wanted to, is it Stephanie that would like get invited to our meeting?
Yep.
How could we arrange that? What do you recommend?
I've reached out, so I will reach out again.
Okay.
Maybe I can get some statistics just to share with the two of you.
I think all the bids would love just a report. It doesn't even have to be on the agenda.
Yeah, and that's why I reached out. I'm trying to get them to
Yeah.
each bid.
Yeah, and I mean, if she'd be willing to attend our October meeting so that people could get
Yeah.
a face to the name and ask
Well,
questions.
and there again, to bring, knowing this is an ending
3 or 4 supposedly,
It started with 5, I believe, and it's 3 now.
3 right now, I think.
and these are the people who are wandering around downtown.
With yellow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or blue.
Or, yeah.
Oh,
You know, and with the new facility that's gonna be opening up next to our office, I think there's a strong interest in not just the business community, but the community in general. You know, it's a very difficult situation with the homeless population and what we're doing and how we can address that. And if this group, these ambassadors are, I think, supposed to be a part of that, I just always wondered why there's 10 different organizations that they just can't sit at a table like this and say, we're all trying to do the same thing. And now we're getting an opportunity, I think, with what West Central is out there, whatever that is.
Western Dairyland.
Western
and then-
Dairyland, kind of spearheading this, and they're bringing in some other organizations that there's an opportunity to try to coordinate some of these things so they work together. And if there's a way we can help facilitate that, since it's sitting now in our district, and, you know, maybe it moves from a South Barstow problem now to a North Barstow problem, because right now they're in the park and they're down at the old,
Yeah, South
gun
Barstow's got a
shop.
big problem.
Yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate, and I don't even wanna go there, I don't have any answers
Right.
for anybody, but it's something that affects We can put up all the planters we want, but if somebody's sleeping in the freaking planter, that's what people are gonna remember.
Well, I literally got a message this morning from Jen that there's some of the canna lilies have been snapped off by people.
Yeah,
Sure, oh yeah.
And, they're well established. They're, it's not like she can just go buy one and plop it in. They start small, they grow to that. And now that large planter,
There's feces and things.
well, yeah.
We had to
it's-
remove planters from South Barstow. It's a really big issue. And I think for the business community, from our perspective, and there's so many issues that come with this, we get it. But we need to maintain a healthy economic, activity within our downtown, and these things create major rifts in that. So we have sections of our town, and now North Barstow too is going to experience new things with this facility. And so I just think that we have to stand up for those, the services that are helping the business community thrive in that element. And without ambassadors, we don't have that at all.
And I would say that the county has hired, I can't remember her name, but literally for the year, her goal has been to find out what everybody is doing and like make connections. It's like, it's still in that process too, and that's a different group.
Yeah.
And then the chamber has gotten involved definitely with like, that group and, like Housing First initiatives. Foundation is like, what's our part in this? And I feel like I don't know how to engage as the bid because we're like, one of 100 interested parties, but we're not responsible for any of the
Ultimately, the
services.
problem you find with that is just this of the ambassadors too, is, okay, we have no quantitative way to show what they've done or if this money is helping, and people become, okay, we've got 12 different organizations that don't seem to be effective in any way. Why are we contributing funds to any of it?
Has the
And-
perception improved since the ambassador
Right, and that's what we need to find out and put out there. If in fact the ambassadors have been having a positive effect, and we've spoken to so many people these times, we've assisted with business owners that are having difficulty with them. We want to be able to show that to people and say, here.
Right.
That's what I'm getting at, Jason.
Well, and we have no ability to ask them to do anything either. That's kind of problematic. Like when you guys had trash over there, it's out of their boundaries. It's just like, I couldn't reach out to them and say, hey, can you go do this?
You
No.
said once they're established, we'd like help with our kiosk, like, is it functioning? Can you check on that? And I have no idea. Like, I feel no.
Aaron is
ability
gonna
to
have a-
interact. You know what I mean?
Throw it on my list.
Well, that's, exactly. I mean, I've been down there working on it again lately. I go down there and it's constantly a mess. So I'm down there little index, cleaning it off and knocking down the cobwebs. And is that something we can request of them at some point in this? Or can we contribute a certain amount to it and say, we'll pay you for that action item, whatever it is. I mean, we don't even know that at this point if we have that ability.
Well, that's, so we're not gonna solve that in the
Yeah.
next 3 minutes here. But,
But definitely in October.
I'm so sorry to do that,
agenda.
but I do have one more really important thing and it just hit me.
Okay, before I have to run to the bathroom.
It is your district, so it's important. So in the last couple of years, there's been abortion protesters down at the farmers market every weekend. It impacts the farmers market and it impacts the artist market. And just today I received an email that had gone to Deidre from a family.
I don't know, Deidre.
Oh, Deidre runs the farmers market.
Okay, thank you.
And basically saying that they had an experience with the protesters and they made their kids cry. We asked them to move last week when we had the kids market because they were set up right in front of the kids market. They're borderline harassing people now.
Agreed.
And so when we approached the city attorney about this last year, they gave the farmers market kind of like they can't be anywhere within the pavilion or the surrounding sidewalk. But
Really?
the artist market, they're allowed to be on the sidewalk. They can't be on the grass. So I have vending booths that go up to the grass. So that's like where the public would enter. And it's a business, right? We make money off of it. And people are upset. So these complaints are coming into the wrong people, coming into us and to the farmers market. So I've been asked now to take this another step further and go back to the city attorney and talk about creating a zone, which I'm sure it's going to have to do with Parks and Rec as well. And I have let Parks and Rec know that this doesn't work for us with the map. simply we just want them across the street or on the other side of like where the plants are. But it is changing people's comfortability going to public amenities or using public amenities and services.
Well, let's add it to the agenda and see if the board could reach a consensus on
Write a
an
letter.
advocacy position.
I don't even know, I guess in the city, or these type of events, do they have to be permitted in Eau Claire?
They're
Some
allowed
cities do require a protest
protesting.
permit, but we don't here.
My understanding is that I've called the cops before, this was last year, but that as long as they're not impeding the ability for people to walk across the sidewalk, like if they can walk by them, they're totally fine. Doesn't matter even if they're and that's the other thing. Everyone that walks by, they call out to and speak to try
Yes,
to
they do.
engage versus just standing, which I have a problem with.
And their pictures are horrific.
And the only thing that we can do apparently is nothing. And that's really unfortunate. Like the city attorney last year was like, there is nothing you can do. And even the police, I was working for the city at the time, and the police department came out, they're like, sorry, if they like hold hands and block the sidewalk, you can call us back.
But didn't you say that the farmer's market did achieve a boundary of?
Yep. And I've asked why the sidewalk in the farmer's market, I don't know why they get that included as like their part of their rental. So when I rent the park, apparently I'm only renting the grass and not the sidewalk.
Interesting, because.
But they're renting
Public right away, that gets,
Yeah.
it gets a little gray.
So really what I was asking is, could you do a letter of support that we can include with kind of a lot of other letters of support that I'm going to take to the city to try to figure out like what we can do?
Yeah, I was curious.
And Tim, any suggestions?
Well, I don't know about that one. Part of me says they have a First Amendment right, even though I don't like it. And what's gonna happen is eventually you'll probably get counter protesters, and now it's gonna be a big.
Yeah.
How do you stop the guy who's standing on the tallest spot in the park, spouting off about Jesus, when I come
Sure.
to see the concert kind of thing? I mean, it's a difficult situation, and I respect that the city wants to protect all protest or ability to protest, but because people are uncomfortable, it isn't generally enough to say you can't do it. That's the
I'm thinking
difficult-
how it impacts business, right?
Yeah.
So like
Mhm.
my business is impacted because people don't want to
Right.
be there, or the farmer's market vendors don't want to come.
Right, but you're in and it goes back to, there's a lot of cases on this, is the mall a public square kind of thing?
Sure, yeah.
And do you have a right to, so I don't know the answer, but I think asking to support that there be
I'm
a
just wondering,
designated area that, we can say this is private and you can't come in here.
like if a wedding was going on there, like I'm just wondering if the cops are called, like what would happen in that situation? Would they like
Yeah.
ask them to leave and escort them out?
Yeah,
Because it's the same thing, they rent the park, but they don't rent the sidewalks.
right. So I don't know, but, just don't think you have one problem taken care of, another one rears its.
And really, I think it's more about just establishing the rentable area of the park. Because
Yeah.
if there's a business paying for it, it should accommodate like the use of the event.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the strategy I'm going for. I don't mind that they're there,
Yeah.
just, the two sidewalks that are split by the grass, like even just on that side. Because then people can choose to walk and our vendors aren't affected,
Yeah.
So it's not asking them.
Well,
not to.
and I think that there's nothing wrong with asking our organization to support that.
Looking
People-
into it.
people use.
Okay.
It's in our district,
Yeah,
right?
support the businesses and, yeah.
Okay, I'll put it on.
And
This meeting is adjourned.
Well, that was fun.
Running down the hall.